Nubia. Now, folk, I want you to look at, if you have your book, at that picture at the bottom of page 23 on Nubia. And what you're going to see are people who are mostly dark-skinned, but are all different shades of dark. Some of them are very, very black. Some of them are brown. And some of them are almost as white as Europeans. You will find this type of depiction in a lot of ancient writing, of ancient art, which to me indicates that this separation, distinction between the races was not as apparent then as it is now. Now, we've had in the modern world some 50 cases where a couple has produced twins, one white and one black. This will sometimes make world news, but it does happen. But at one time, I suspect back in the time we were talking about, a mother who was about to have a child, I wonder what color this one will be. This one might turn out fairly brown. The next one might turn out very black. Then the third one might turn out almost white. Again, what happened eventually, though, was that white couples eventually lost their ability to produce black children, and black couples eventually were to lose their ability to produce white children. That was as time went on, and certain genes were lost to certain gene pools. The Europeans eventually lost their ability to produce black children because that gene was no longer in the gene pool. And then Africans, they eventually lost their ability to produce white children because white was no longer part of the gene pool. But at the time we're talking about, these people, we think of Nubians as being mostly black. Apparently a lot of them were, but a lot of them were not. Same way with Egypt. I've seen Egyptian artwork that pictures Egyptians as being of mixed colors, some from almost European white to African very dark. All right. Again, we're going to talk more about the Nubians when we come to the part on Africa in chapter 6, I believe. Just simply be aware that they were there. All right. Moving on. Indo-Europeans. The one thing I want you to know about Europeans at this time, they were stone builders. Now, I have a book in my house that says that talks about 10,000 stone structures in Europe that nobody knows who built them or when. They've always been there. Like from the earliest times, the earliest writing describe them. The book said we're going to leave out the Stonehenge because it's too well known. And they list, but give a paragraph on each of the 10,000 structures that nobody knows who built them, when, or even why. The Stonehenge, of course, being the most famous. Now again, folk, I've heard that the Stonehenge was quarried by stones in Ireland and transported across the sea. The type of ships that would carry those kind of stones supposedly did not exist at that time. I say supposedly. How were the stones moved in? Again, your guess is as good as mine. About stone buildings, stone structures that can't be explained are found all over the globe. North America, South America, India, China, Europe, and of course especially in Africa and in Egypt. Stone structures, they knew about how to move huge, extremely huge stones that we have no idea how or why. They call them the Greek word megalith, and the Greek megalith means large stone. That the first megaliths were constructed around 4000 BCE. In other words, folks, it's like the farther back you go, the more ability they had. The closer you come to modern times, they've lost their abilities. Now, Indo-European, the word Indo-European means persons who lived in Europe and eventually spread out from Europe. Now, around 1800 BCE, Indo-Europeans began to spread south. Some of them went to Rome and became the Romans. Some of them went to Greece and became the Greeks. Some of them went to Persia and became the Persians. And then some of them were called Aryans, and they went to India. And that is why the people of Persia and India, people of Persia and India know that they have European roots. In India, you have people who are mostly black, but they have Caucasian features. Again, the original Indians were black. The Indo-Europeans who came in were probably white, but the Indo-Europeans intermarried with the local black people and eventually became black themselves by means of intermarriage. All right. I must mention the Hittites. The only thing I want you to remember about the Hittites, well, the Hittites were very important. A lot of people used to criticize the Bible because the Bible talked about the Hittites here and there, several places, and the Hittites never existed. Then they found out not only did Hittites exist, they were so important that under King Shupoluliumus, and don't worry about the name, but under King Shupoluliumus, they conquered and sacked Babylon shortly after the days of Hammurabi. Just remember that they were there. They were Indo-European. They're known for their use of iron, which led to what we call the Iron Age. The Paleolithic period led to the Iron Age. They discovered iron, and iron had some good qualities about it. Iron weapons were better than weapons made of stone. Use of iron. Now, another group of people I'll mention, and then I'll close because I know we only got about, on my watch, 4 minutes left. That clock's a little fast. And we're about to come to the children of Israel, the Hebrews, and I must spend more time on that. But I do want to mention the Phoenicians. From the Phoenicians, we get the word phonetics. The Phoenicians invented the alphabet that is used by most Europeans today. They said the Phoenician alphabet had only 22 characters. Today's English alphabet has 26. But each letter had a distinct sound. This may sound obvious to you because you're so used to it. Invented by the Phoenicians. The Phoenicians passed their alphabet on to the Greeks, who copied it, and then the Romans took it from there, and then all European peoples took it from there, until today virtually all Europeans use an alphabet that can be traced back to the Phoenicians. The Phoenicians were a seagoing people. They traveled as far away as Spain. And folks, there are some scholars who believe that you can find Phoenician artifacts in North and South America and as far away as Java and Australia. That China, that Phoenician sailors may have traveled the entire globe. Before you think this is impossible, keep in mind a lot of what modern scholarship teaches is simply wrong. But anyway, your book shows an example of the Phoenician alphabet, how that the letters evolved to from early Latin to today's to the classical Latin. We are basically using the Latin alphabet today, which derived from the Phoenicians. All right.